Hello, aspirants. Welcome to PW OnlyIAS. I'm here, Harpreet Singh, with the daily analysis of the Hindu from 7th of November 2024. Let's begin with today's analysis. So, this is a Telegram account. Please, you can subscribe to this channel and you can find the PDF also on this particular channel, along with the other material that is required for your preparation. This is my Telegram channel, official Telegram channel of PW. Okay, let's move ahead. So what all topics that we have taken for today's analysis? Now, because of the United States election, we did not have many articles, but there were some articles that we have picked up for today's analysis. First of all, Anglo-Indian Reservation, palm oil import, Bulldozer demolition, US president versus the Indian president. Though we had done the process of election of the US president, now we are here differentiating or analyzing how the US president, that position is different from that of the Indian president. Along with it, types of vehicles, PM-Vidyalaxmi scheme, Ranthambore National Park, and Rohini Nayyar prize that was in the news. So let's see and analyze what this is all about. Okay, the main topics. First, topic 1, relevant from the perspective of GS1 as well as GS2. Anglo-Indian Reservation, reported on page 2 this article. The Anglo-Indian leaders call for restoration of the reservation for the Anglo-Indians in the parliament and the legislatures. Now, first of all, we need to understand who the Anglo-Indians are, right? So let's take the help of the Constitution of India and study and understand who the Anglo-Indians basically are. Let's see. According to Article 366, sub-article 2, basically defines the Anglo-Indian term. Anglo-Indian means a person whose father or any of whose or other male progenitors in the male line is or was of European descent, but who is domiciled within the territory of India, is or was born within such territory of his parents, habitually resident therein, not established for the temporary purpose only. This is what the definition defines. If we put it into simple words, let us assume the people were right now citizens of India, whose ancestors were of the European descent. Like when the Britishers were ruling here, many Britishers came, settled down here, even from the other parts of Europe. They settled down here and many did not go back to their own homelands or home countries. So they were a minuscule minority that was existing in India. And when the constitutional makers were basically drafting the constitution, they said, if we go according to the democratic system, it is quite possible that these people might not get or be participant in the legislature or the parliament. Why? Because parliamentary vote or democracy works on the concept of who is voting for whom. So what happened is a special set of word Anglo-Indian was created, whose ancestors of the male line, someone was from the European descent, who did not go back, again the present generation did not go back, and they stayed in India as citizens. So they were treated as a separate entity and defined in the constitution. Because of the fact that they have their own culture, they were a very small minority, a reservation was given to them in the parliament as well as the state legislature. Going again, those whose father or whose male progenitors of the male line were of European descent, who were domiciled in India, that means who are here, not for some few years, but permanently here, not for a temporary purpose. So those are Anglo-Indians. Now, if we move ahead, there are various constitutional provisions for the Anglo-Indians. First, the Article 366 is what the definition is of Anglo-Indians that we have already done over here, right? Second is Article 331. It states that the president can nominate 2 members. The president can nominate 2 members of the Anglo-Indian community to the Lok Sabha if, this is a condition, if the community is not adequately represented. See, as I said, because why this provision? Again, similar provision at the state legislature also, that it is by default, the voting pattern in India is influenced by caste, religion, subcaste. So there's a possibility, a great possibility, that the people from this community might not be elected through a democratic process. So what happens is that 2 seats were reserved basically through which nomination, president could nominate 2 members from the Anglo-Indian community to represent the Anglo-Indian community in the parliament as their representatives, right? Now, this is under Article 331. Similar provision is with respect to the state. The governor of a state, if he may, of the opinion that the Anglo-Indian community needs representation in the legislative assembly of a state and is not adequately represented, therein nominate 1 member of that community to the assembly. In the parliament, 2 members. 2 members by the president if the president feels they are not adequately represented. And in the state, the governor feels that there is need for the representation. Along with it, if they are not adequately represented. So these are conditions there. Then the governor of a state can nominate 1 member from that state, from the Anglo-Indian community to the state legislature, right? These provisions. Now is Article 334B. The reservation of the Anglo-Indian community in the legislative body was extended for 40 years in 1949 through the insertion of this article, right? Similarly, there is a National Commission of Scheduled Caste, Article 338. Please remember, it has been given an additional duty with respect to the Anglo-Indian community also. Investigates all matters relating to the constitutional legal safeguards for the Anglo-Indian community, along with the Scheduled Caste community. Dealing with the dimensions, issues of the Scheduled Caste community, the National Commission for Scheduled Caste is given additional duty to treat and deal with the issues of the Anglo-Indian community also. So these are the constitutional provisions that are there. That means the reservation was there in a way, or let us say, through nomination under Article 331 and 333. Now what happened? This is now worth seeing. See, when we talk about the Anglo-Indian community, we have seen through the above articles, 1 nominated member in the state legislature and 2 in the Lok Sabha. Now, Anglo-Indian community is again a religious minority, social, as well as a linguistic minority, because most of them are generally speaking English language, right? And some even other languages also, based upon their descent and their ancestral relationship with which part of the European nation. Now, again see here, the reservation for the Anglo-Indian community was extended till the year 2020 through the 95th Amendment Act of 2009. That means repeatedly constitutional amendments have been made so that like under Article 334B, so that the reservation for the Anglo-Indian community continues. Please understand, similarly for the scheduled caste and scheduled tribe also, when initially the constitution was drafted, Dr. Ambedkar was of the view that the reservation for them should be for 10 years. But after that, repeatedly after every 10 years, again the constitutional amendment is passed and the reservation is further continuing. But what happened with the Anglo-Indian community is, by the 104th Constitutional Amendment Act of 2019. Why? Because you know that the reservation was till 2020. So the government should have extended the reservation. That means again a constitutional amendment had to be passed so that there is continuity. But in 2019 itself, a constitutional amendment came which basically made changes to Article 334, which says that reservation of the seats and special representations to cease from that period. That means by the 104th Constitutional Amendment Act of 2019, the reservation that was given to the Anglo-Indian community at the parliamentary level, through which the nomination of 2 seats were done by the president, and at the governor level, which the governor could nominate 1 member from the state to the legislature, was basically abolished in a way. That means that by this Constitutional Amendment Act, that means reservation done away with. Now, the problem that arose is, what is Government of India's stand with respect to this constitutional amendment being passed? The Government of India stated that, see, right now the Anglo-Indian community are well placed. There are people from their community already in various spheres of life. There are people from the Anglo-Indian community already in the parliament. So we see that according to the Government of India, there is no need for continuation of this reservation. The premise over here lies is because the article 331 and 333 itself mentioned one condition: if the community is not adequately represented. So it did not say in every condition, it says if it is not adequately represented or if there is need for reservation, then it can be made. So based on this premise, the government say they are already well placed, they are already doing well, so there is no need. But what happened is, there is a report by the Minority Ministry. A study conducted by the Ministry of Minority Affairs in 2030 showed the Anglo-Indian community faces educational, economical backwardness, housing problems, and also identity crisis. Based on this premise, the Anglo-Indian community say that the government of India stand that all of them are well off, all are doing well is not a correct stand according to the community. That is why they say that there is a need for restoration of that reservation, as the reservation for the scheduled caste and scheduled tribe were again through the constitutional amendment extended. So the similar reservation should be extended for the Anglo-Indian community, because they say they are a religious, linguistic, and a cultural minority in India. So this is what is the dimension. In your examination, please remember, particularly in your prelims examination also, you can be asked who are Anglo-Indians, some article related to that. They can ask you National Commission of Scheduled Tribe is associated with Anglo-Indian community welfare. No, it is the National Commission for the Scheduled Caste under Article 338. Similarly, you can be asked some questions with respect to the Article 331, 333, 334B. So these are something important. In the mains examination itself, also you can be asked about a question on the Anglo-Indians. So this is something that you should be well aware of. Let's move ahead. So this was the official document of the Ministry of Law and Justice. Let's move ahead. Topic 2, GS3, page number 13. India's palm oil import source. That means there has been a very rapid rise in the palm oil. Again, we need to understand that palm oil is utilized for various purposes. And because of that, the demand of palm oil is increasing at an exponential rate. Because of that, Government of India has also basically made efforts. They have basically national missions for especially for the palm oil, so that we can tap the potential that is there in India. We are importing a large quantities of palm oil from countries like Indonesia, Malaysia, even Singapore. So they said rather than importing such huge quantities of oil from there, we can make the best use in our country itself, and the benefits and the farmers themselves can benefit. That is why let us see this from a very holistic purpose and understand the concerns and what potential that India has. See, palm oil is the world's most consumed vegetable oil. It is used as an edible oil. Firstly, as an edible oil also in the processed food like chocolate bar, ice cream, instant noodle, margarine. It is also used in cosmetics, soaps, shampoos, detergents. These are all things where it finds its application. Now, please remember, this can also be asked as a question in your prelims itself. See, in your mains, they can ask you, there is a huge potential for the palm oil based on the huge imports that India make. Analyze the palm oil sector. And GS paper 3, they can very well ask you. Similarly, for prelims also, these questions are relevant. So just be very careful about that. Now see, the oil palm yield more oil per hectare of land than any other oil field in the world. And that is one of the reasons why people tend to produce this. And it is also used as a means for all these purposes. Palm oil production also provides employment in the rural areas. Currently, over 1 million workers and 3 million smallholders and many more households are involved in the production of palm oil across the world. Just imagine in India, where we are having issues of unemployment, we're having issues of, let us say, disguised unemployment, we have having issues of lower income, and we even are aiming at doubling the income of the farmers. But this sector can be a very big boost to the Indian agricultural sector, particularly in the coastal regions. Now see, if I talk about the scenario with respect to India, India is the world's largest palm oil importer. Now, this is the reason why this article becomes important. India is the largest importer of palm oil in the world. And see, it imported 8.4 million metric tons of palm oil in 2020-21 and constituted the 18% of the global import. Just imagine, out of the total global imports of the palm oil that is done across the world, 18% is done by India. Now, India is the third largest consumer of edible oil in the world. and imports 62%. Now this 62% has even gone further because this is 2020-21 data for the government of India. It has further gone up, with palm oil taking the lion's share from Indonesia and Malaysia. These are the two major regions at 61%, and 32% is imported from these two countries. So these are the major countries through which the palm oil import basically takes place. Again, the Southeast Asian nations, or they're major producers of the palm oil because of the conditions that are prevalent there. The climatic conditions are very favorable. That is why it imported. But the problem lies, why can't India do that? So India is also the second largest consumer of palm oil, around 13% of the world total, which is 70% of it is used as edible oil. Please remember. Now the thing comes, in India, they can ask you, which among the sector is the palm oil consumption in India is maximum? It is as an edible oil. Household, food services, then as processed snacks, and the remaining is 70%. So it is a major dimension which we need to understand. And the fast moving, see, FMCGs, with the processed foods, there is a very high demand of the palm oil in India. So there is a huge potential that can be there in this particular sector, which India is currently not able to tap. So what we have learned from this till now, we know the palm oil as a major utility through so many things. Then we know that India is the largest importer of palm oil. It is the second largest consumer, or third largest consumer of edible oil. Along with it, please remember, it is the second largest consumer of palm oil. So in both the cases, it becomes very, very important for India to be self-reliant in this case. If we move ahead, please understand. Right now, the figures in green, you will be seeing them. These are the major areas where we can see certain extent of, let us say, palm oil, but these are majorly restrained in the coastal states. To be more precise, see here. These states are a little bit more, in a way, producing. If we go back to the previous map, there is a huge potential for the other states also to produce. Right now, we have the states of Andhra Pradesh. We have states like Tamil Nadu, Kerala, Odisha, little bit Andaman, Nicobar Island also, Mizoram. And these are certain states which are, let us say, producing. But again, there is a huge potential. Now I'll tell you the level of potential that there is in India. See here. The area covered right now is 0.35 million hectares. The potential is 2.8 million hectares. Close to 8 times what is present there. So if that potential is reaped, we will not have to import such billions of dollars of import that is done by India. Close to $13 billion import of palm oil is being done by India. That can be benefiting the farmers in India itself. So these are the regions. So we can extend to the other states, the green states, or they have more potential. That means, though there is in Kerala, for example, why it is put in green? Because there is huge potential which is not being tapped. And there is huge potential for the other states in green that is mentioned here. So they can, if their potential is reaped, we can even go to this 2.8 million hectare mark, right? So right now, these are the major places where palm oil production is being done. Okay, now see, market potential of the palm oil manufacturing in India. India's annual demand of palm oil amounts to close to 25 million tons. The country's current produces about 10 million domestically and imports close to 15 million. Palm oil production in India currently spans over 3 lakh hectares, which span to the cultivation in addition to the 6 lakh hectares of 2025. So what we see is currently we are relying on import. There is a lot of market potential. That means if we see from this area itself, from 0.35 million, we can go on to 0.28 million hectares. 8 times, more than 8 to 9 times, we can, basically 9 times. The increase will be, if done, possibly we don't have to rely on the imports. Similarly, we realize that there is a lot of demand. Why? Because we see that India is the third largest consumer of edible oil and the second largest consumer of palm oil. And with respect to our rural sector, which basically comprises the 68% of the population, which is slowly moving towards urbanization, let us say, according to Government of India, by close to 2050, 60% of the population will be in the urban region. Over there, the FMCG, the fast moving consumable goods and the consumer goods, basically occupy a very important position where, let us say, the processed food also has a very major part to play. In that manufacturing, the palm oil is playing a very important role. So in that case, there is a huge demand that is untapped right now if the production is increased in India. So if we move ahead, please see, in order to increase this production, we have the National Mission on Edible Oil, Oil Palm. See, National Mission on Edible Oil, Oil Palm is a new centrally sponsored scheme. It is proposed to act additionally 6.5 lakh hectares. Now, this is the way we are seeing by 25-26. It involves raising the area under oil palm cultivation to 10 lakh hectares by 25-26 and 16.7 lakh hectares by 29-30. So there's a huge potential. The oil palm farmers will be provided the financial assistance and get remuneration and the price and viability formula. The viability formula is a minimum support price. So what we are saying is, like we have the MSP, similarly, we'll be having this viability formula is a type of MSP for the palm oil, which will eventually go up to 15.3%. That means making it more remunerative for the farmers to grow. Another focus area of the scheme is to substantially increase the support of input and interventions. Special assistance will be given to replant the old gardens. That means, again, so that you have a fresher crop and a better production. Special focus will be given in the northeastern region and the Andaman and Island regions because of the climatic conditions that are very, very suitable for the production of oil palm. Along with it, these are regions, particularly like the northeastern region, which are economically also not as advanced as the other states. So what is the potential that, because huge imports are being done, we can see that the northeastern states in the Andaman can be like a hub of the oil palm production, which can be helpful for the country overall, and we can reduce the import. And to attract industry in the northeastern and Andaman region, provision of 5 crore, that means 5 crore of 5 million ton per hectare of pro rata increase of capacity will be given. So that means we are basically focusing on attracting the industry through incentives that are being given. So when we see the incentives being given, the industries will come. Objective to harness domestic edible oil prices dedicated, which are expensive because the palm oil, again, imports are very expensive. To raise the domestic production of the palm oil to by 3 times to 11 times by 25-26. So we see basic aim is to reduce the import. Close to over $12 billion of import is being done. Through that, benefits can be reaped in India. The income of the farmers can be increased in India. The opportunity for jobs and opportunities can be given to the various regions, like in northeastern region and in the Andaman Island region. Along with it, there are other crops that are being grown which are less remunerative, and this is a more remunerative aspect. So this can be a very beneficial aspect. Along with it, if the domestic production increases, you're going to save on with the forex reserves that are being exhausted on this. Along with it, the processed edible oil is also a means of India can export to the other countries if it becomes self-sufficient, particularly to the African market. So that becomes very, very, very important from the perspective of the economy, jobs, employment, raising income. So this is a very important topic that one should be aware of, particularly from the mains as well as the prelims perspective. Okay, topic 3. Can't act overnight. Supreme Court pulls up the UP government for illegal demolition. Now, please understand. We had seen the concept of bulldozer justice, where we saw, this is basically a follow-up of that. We saw that in the bulldozer justice concept, which I have basically defined it over here also, this article or the judgment is a follow-up of that. In a way, see how it is different. Over here, let us say for the road widening and all, if certain orders are given, they were overnight breaking, or let us say the demolishment of the houses were taking place without giving adequate time to the family members to vacate that. Now what happens, that creates a human cry issue that goes against the right to life also. The Supreme Court, the Honorable Supreme Court said, see, you cannot simply go overnight and in order to, let us for the development purpose or the road widening, you're going and demolishing the houses without giving adequate time to the family members to vacate and the necessary remuneration that needs to be given. So why this is a follow-up? Because they said that the Honorable Supreme Court said that you do not misuse this bulldozer concept where you're breaking the houses just in the name of development also. So one needs to follow a proper standard operating procedure, proper guidelines need to be there. That is being emphasized in the judgment over here. This is why a follow-up of the bulldozer justice, because in the bulldozer justice also, the criminals whose houses were basically being broken down because which was assumed that would have been built out of the, let us say, illegal money or money laundering. in there also the Supreme Court said that, see, if a particular person is convicted of a crime, you cannot just remove the people from the house or the family members that are staying there. The family members should not suffer. That is why let us see a little bit of article of Bulldozer Justice and what the Supreme Court has said in this particular case. Bulldozer justice is a heavy-handed approach of the administration and judiciary, decisions swiftly made to enforce and offer sidelining the due process, public consultation, or any procedure protocols. So what happened? Without, according to the Supreme Court also, you are sidelining the procedure that is established by law. And what is happening? What is basically bulldozer justice? Bulldozer justice, also known as bulldozer politics, refers to the practice of using heavy-duty pieces of machinery to demolish houses of alleged criminals, communal violence rioters, and accused criminals. Now what happens? The breaking of those houses in the case of bulldozer justice was seen as a justice being given for the wrongdoings or the crime that they had done. The Supreme Court said, no. You have to convict the person, you attach the property for if it is out of a, let us say, illegal money or money laundering, but you cannot simply go break the houses where the family members were staying. Where will the family members go? What will happen to the rehabilitation? So the government of Uttar Pradesh has been directed by the Supreme Court to stop this practice. Now then came this article where in the name of, let us say, road widening or some development work, if the houses are being demolished and adequate time is not given, that is also against their concept of right to life. In that particular case, now Supreme Court has said certain things. Let us see that. What are the legal and the constitutional aspects related to this particular bulldozer justice as well as the bulldozer demolition? Legal and constitutional concerns. The court expressed the serious reservation about the constitutionality of utilizing bulldozer for punitive demolition. It goes against the Article 21 of the Constitution, which ensures right to life and personal liberty, including protection from arbitrary and excessive punitive actions. So that means you said you cannot simply go and demolish them. A proper procedure is established by law, needs to be followed for that. Similarly, we see that when we move on to the political symbolism and constitutional integrity, we realize that it again goes against the Article 14. That means protection of equality before law and protection from the discrimination. So even Article 15 for that matter, Article 14 also, Article 21 also. So according to the Honorable Supreme Court, there is violation of Article 21 and Article 14 primarily, where misuse of the law, or let us say the procedure established by law, is not being followed. So what did the Supreme Court then say? The Supreme Court said that there are guidelines are required for the demolition procedures. That means need for uniform guidelines. So the court advocated establishing uniform norms for the demolition operations throughout India. These guidelines intended to guarantee the actions against the unauthorized building comply with the constitutional norms. That means if there is such illegal construction being broken down, okay, that's fine, encroachment, but there has to be proper guidelines through which it has to be done. It is not randomly overnight you go and break any building and the people who were staying there are homeless then. And no rehabilitation is done of them, because people might emotionally be assuming that, okay, they are encroaching the land. It's fine. So what is the standard operating procedure? You give them the notice. This is the period within that you have to finish or remove it. If you do not, then action can be taken. It is not that tomorrow you tell that this is illegal thing and you demolish everything. That is what the Supreme Court is mentioning. Implementation challenges and recommendation. While the consistent principle is required, court must ensure that they do not unintentionally support or violate the fundamental rights. Because fundamental rights are very important. Right to life, what we had seen, Article 21, Article 14. In that, digitalizing eviction notification could alleviate backdating difficulties by applying it across multiple regions. The court's mission is to guarantee that demolition are justified and carried on in accordance with the constitutional law. Please remember, the court never said that the demolition or encroachment is right. They said that encroachment needs to be removed, illegal construction need to be removed, but they have to be carried according to law and the principles of the Constitution, not according to the whims and fancies of the administration. So this is why we say constitutionality and the primacy of the constitutionality and the supremacy of the law is what is being stated by the Honorable Supreme Court in both the cases, in the case of the bulldozer justice also, in the case of the bulldozer demolition also. This is again important from the perspective of the judgment that has been given by the Honorable Supreme Court. If we move ahead, Now this is again GS4, topic for GS2, page 1. See, the process through which the president is elected was discussed 3 to 4 days back in detail. How the primaries, caucuses, what is the electoral college, how is the process, we had all discussed that. You would have seen that also. Today we are basically differentiating between the position of the Indian president from that of the US president. Let us see what the differences basically are. See, if I talk about the Indian president and the US president, powers. Limited executive power, primarily serving as a ceremonial role. The real power is with the Prime Minister in India. We very well know that. Even the president is bound by the decision of the Council of Ministers headed by the Prime Minister. He cannot act on his own discretion in this case. US president is both head of the state and the government and leading the executive branch, so he has a real power, unlike the Indian president. Functioning, acts on the advice of the Council of Ministers, decision made collectively with the Prime Minister, the autonomy to make executive decisions, appoint officers, appoint even Secretary of the State for that matter, appoint various secretaries. It is his autonomy. Election process, elected by the Electoral College of the members of Parliament and the State Legislative Assembly. They are elected through a direct election system where citizens vote. Please understand why. When I'm talking about direct election, please understand the public basically, or the people, vote for the Electoral College. The Electoral College then votes for the president. It may sound like a direct election because why it is said direct? Though it is indirect. Direct in a way because each member of the Electoral College represents certain people. So it is sounding like direct, but it is indirect. Please understand that. It is appearing like a direct, that is why it is written, but in true, when you write the sentence, in reality, it is indirect. Why it is said direct also very often? Because when each member of the Electoral College that is selected is out of an outcome of various votes. So when a person is voting, the member of Electoral College is voting, he is representing those number of votes. That is why when the President Trump won the election, he said that these are the percentage of votes that he got. Though it was basically through the Electoral College members who had voted for him, right? Next, term duration. Serves as a term of 5 years and re-election any number of times. Serves for 4 years and may be re-elected one additional time, right? So totaling to 8 years. That means a president of the United States, a person can be president for 2 terms. That is total of 8 years. In India, this restriction is not. The person can be made president as many number of times he wants. Like Donald Trump became the president last time. Now he has been elected again. That means 4 year, 8-year duration. He cannot be re-elected again. The maximum is 2 terms election. And please understand, that means totaling of 8 years maximum. Impeachment, can be impeached violating the constitution requiring 2/3 majority of both the houses. The president can be impeached for the conviction of treason, bribery or any other crimes of misendeavor. Impeachment is initiated by the House of Representatives followed by the Senate trial. Executive authority exercises power mainly on the advice of the Prime Minister and the Cabinet with limited independent authority. He acts independently with respect to the powers that have been given to him. Privileges, has certain privileges regarding immunity from the legal proceedings for the action in the official capacity. That means what action he is doing, he has various immunities that are there given to the President of India. Enjoys broader privileges without the executive privilege to withhold information from the Congress. Again, this is something, an exception is there. Immunity, immune from legal proceedings of the office, but can be sued for the personal actions. For some personal action he has taken, that can be sued, but not for doing something in the public capacity. Immune from even the civil suits, but face criminal charges for the illegal activity. So some situation is something reversed. This is with respect to Indian. This is with respect to USA President. Has certain privileges regarding immunity. We have done this basically. Political affirmation, typically affiliated to a political party but expected to act independently. elected based on the party affiliation. So you realize that the president may be affiliated to some political party in India, but when he is there, he is basically a neutral figure. But in case of the president of US, he is definitely a representative of a political party. For example, Donald Trump represents the Republican Party, right? Kamala Harris represents the Democratic Party. So they are directly affiliated with the parties. Executive authority exercises power mainly on the advice of the Prime Minister. He acts independently. This is basically the aspects. Now, these are some articles related to the President of India. Article 54 related to the election of president, Article 55 manner of election of the president, Article 56 terms of office of president, Article 57 eligibility, 58 qualifications for the election of the president. These are certain articles that you should be aware of. These can be asked. Next, going to the aspect of prelims questions. Now see, over here, light motor vehicle license valid for transport vehicle. Now this is something very interesting. For transport vehicles, you had to have a separate category, like certain additions used to be made in your driving license, where it used to be mentioned, whether it is passenger, transport, heavy, or light motor vehicle, that is based on the weight. So what happened is, Supreme Court said a person with a light motor vehicle, he can also drive a transport vehicle with a weight of less than 7,500 kgs. See, now please understand that we don't have, this is an article which might be asked like a tricky one in your preliminary question. We don't have to go into details. I've just mentioned one aspect over here, that the Government of India under the Motor Vehicles Act classifies, basically there are various classifications. Some are on the basis of weight, some on the basis of axle, some on the basis of transport and non-transport. So certain vehicles have been mentioned which belong to the transport category, some to the non-transport category. This is something that you should be little bit just give a reading. Because these are questions that can be asked in your paper, in the prelims, just to pull your leg. But just a read, that has been more than enough. Like transport vehicle, even the motorcycles. For example, please understand, motorcycle with safe for carrying goods is also a transport vehicle. Why I have mentioned that? Motorcycle with sidecar, a motorcycle with a sidecar for transporting is a transport vehicle, not a non-transport vehicle. Similarly, motorcycle with a trailer is a transport vehicle. Motorcycle used to hire or carry passengers, again a transport vehicle. Three-sided wheeler, transport vehicle. Good carrier, power tiller tractor, mobile clinics with x-rays. So mobile workshops, again movable, mobile canteens, private sector vehicles, public sector vehicles such as max taxi cab, educational institution buses, ambulances, ambulances, campers, cash vans, fire lenders and smokers. Other than this, all are the non-transport vehicles. Little bit awareness of this is required because it is better to know something rather than to know nothing in this case. So what I've mentioned, those are the transport vehicles. Other than that, we'll be in the non-transport sector. Clear? This is something that we don't want you to learn everything, just have a brief idea. Okay. So we have the PM-Vidyalaxmi scheme, which was launched by or approved by the cabinet on the 6th November. It is important from the perspective of GS 2 and 3 and page 4, it was mentioned. So I've used the Government of India's advertisement over here because this is what is required. Now please understand, what is the aim of PM-Vidyalaxmi scheme? It basically aims to ensure financial support to the meritorious students. For the higher education institutions, when they want to pursue, loan facility is being provided through various aspects. We'll see that. First of all, let's see. An outlay of 3,600 crores have been made for 2024-25 to 2030-31. In this loan scheme, 70% of the credit guarantee by the government and loan for a loan up to 7.5 lakhs. It is collateral free. It is guarantee free loan that is given. Now the certain condition will also come. This basically is with respect to going to cover close to 22 plus lakh students annually. But the condition comes, students who get admissions into the top 860 quality higher educational institutions. So now, according to the government ranking, in India, the quality higher education institution, the top 860 institutes, if you are applying to them, and for the higher education you need a loan, then this scheme will be helpful for you. Eligibility for this facility, that means it should be in top 860, not more, not below that rank. So that means with respect to the ranking facility, it should be among the top 860 institutes of India. In that case, you can apply for this loan. Now what happens? It also ensures 3% interest subvention on a loan up to 10 lakh for the students with up to 8 lakh annual family income. So that means there is a 3% interest subvention. That means a benefit of 3% that you will gain up to a loan of 10 lakhs for the students whose family income is less than 8 lakh and who along with it and who are not eligible under any other government scholarship or interest subvention scheme. Now this is again a clause. First was the institute in which a person is applying for higher education should be the top 860 quality higher education institution in India. Second, over here, if you are applying, let us say, if you are applying till 7.5 lakh, 75% credit guarantee is given by the government of India. But if the loan, in the case of the loan up to 10 lakh, 3% interest subvention, a benefit of 3% is there. But this will only come if you have a family income which is not more than 8 lakhs. And you are along with it not eligible, or you are not covered in any scheme where you are basically getting a government scholarship or certain interest subvention. Only then you can basically make use of this scheme. Along with it, a unified portal, PM-Vidyalaxmi, makes the application process simple, transparent, student-friendly, interoperable, and 100% digital platform through which you can basically do this. This is again, if you see the positive side, we realize that many people who could not afford higher educations, over there, this can be a beneficial aspect where government of India is basically aiding you through that you continue with the higher education, because we know that education, higher education is very, very important from the perspective of your jobs, your opportunities that you get. So this again is a positive way forward with respect to the higher education in India. Let's move ahead. Tiger missing in Ranthambore National Park. Just to give an update, in Ranthambore there are 75 tigers, out of which 25 are missing. Now, few hours back, I just got the news that 10 tigers have been found. So we should be happy, not sad about that. So out of 25, 10 have been found. They were basically moving here and there, so they were not being tracked. Remaining 15 also, according to the certain few forest bureaucracy, has said that they will also be found. They were basically in the Ranthambore only, but not being traced. So the question over here is not they being traced, but what about certain characteristics related to the Ranthambore National Park? Clear? So they were missing, but they have been found. 10 others are also being on the way. They can be found soon. Let's see what is Ranthambore National Park. You can see the location over here. It is just border of, let us say this, you can see Madhya Pradesh, Rajasthan. Why I'm drawing this map? Because in the examination, in the prelims, you generally ask the location or certain dimensions related to the park. That is why it becomes important. Ranthambore Tiger Reserve in the eastern part of Rajasthan, in the Rajasthan state, in Karauli and Savai Madhopur district at the junction of the Aravali's and the Vindhyan area. So this is again important. It comprises the Ranthambore National Park as well as the Savai Mansingh and the Kaila Devi sanctuaries. It is named after a Ranthambore fort from which the forest derived the name. It is said to have a rich history of over 1000 years, strategically located on the top of 700 feet tall hill with a park, and is believed to be built in 944 AD by the Chauhan ruler. This is isolated area with tigers represent the northwestern limit of the Bengal tiger distributed range, and it's outstanding example of the Project Tiger efforts. So very important with respect to the tiger reserve. Features consist of highly fragmented forest patches, ravines, river streams, agricultural land connected to Kano-Palpur landscape in Madhya Pradesh. So parts of Kaladevi Wildlife Sanctuary and the ravine habitats of the Chambal and the forest patches of Shirapur. Tributaries of the river Chambal provide an easy passage of the tigers to the Kuno National Park. So again, river Chambal associated with this, which are the other wildlife sanctuaries and parks that are connected to this. So this becomes very, very important from the prelims perspective. Vegetation. It includes grasslands on the plateau and dense forest in the seasonal stream. Forest types are majorly tropical dry deciduous with dhak, that is Buto monosperma, a species of tree capable of withstanding a long period of drought. So this can also be asked in your paper, that a tropical dry deciduous dhak is found in which among the following national parks and known for a characteristic feature of tolerating drought. That is why then the Ranthambore National Park will come. They can give you certain other national parks also, but it is mentioned, so that is why it becomes very important. This tree is also called flame of forest and is one of the mainly flowering plants of the color during the dry summer. The color of the flowers are such that it basically like there's fire. The park is rich in wildlife with tigers, apex of the food chain. Other animals found here are leopards, striped hyenas, common Hanuman langur, rhesus macaws, jackals, jungle cats, caracals, black buck, black-naped hare, and chinkar, etc. are found here. Let's move ahead. Again, next is a topic that is Rohini Nayyar Prize. Now, many would be saying why this thing asked, because it has been various news articles. So we should have a brief idea. This can be asked in prelims because you never know. And along with it, for other examinations also, it can become important. So this is something in the news. Please understand, this is the third prize. That means it occurs annually. It started, first was given in 2022, first, and this is the third prize it is being given annually. It was given to Mr. Anil Pradhan, basically for his work in the rural development sector. And this involves a cash award of 10 lakh rupees, a citation and a trophy. Since 2022, this is the third. Mr. Anil Pradhan from Odisha has won. Now, Rohini Nayyar Prize is basically, please remember, a prize established to recognize the exemplary contribution of young Indians under the age of 40 years towards improving their lives in rural India. Right? This is a major thing. So that means you need to be under 40, and the rural contribution in any sphere that you make is what is the major criteria. Now, it is named after basically this gentle lady, Dr. Rohini Nayyar, remembered by policymakers, academicians, and development practitioners for tirelessly working for 3 decades with respect to the rural India. So based on her, this award has been basically created. Just a brief idea you should know because it was in the news. Okay, MCQs with explanation. Question 1, answer D. Question 2, answer and explanation. Question 3, answer, explanation. Question 4, answer, explanation. Question 5, answer, explanation. So this was the analysis of the Hindu from my side. Hopefully you enjoyed it. Let's meet tomorrow and continue with the session. Take care and Jai Hind.